Good afternoon. It's a big pleasure to be here with you today, and thank you very much for your attendance. Today, we're going to talk about digital campaigns and where do I begin? So, I'm Esme Maria Villalobos, sorry, and Esme Avellaneda is with me. I don't know if you would like to introduce yourself. Yes, of course. Hi, Mappy. I am Esmeralda Avellaneda, and I am on digital content in Wingu. And well, that's it. Between you and me, the idea is to have a communication, a chat, in order to talk about digital campaigns and digital communications. Thank you, Esme. And just as a remembrance, we are gonna have microphones off and cameras as well for the first part of this session. However, do not worry, because if it is necessary at any point, we can open the microphones. But maybe if you want, you can ask us any questions at the chat option. If you want to interrupt us, it's okay. You can write to us this in the chat. And also, it's very important that you have something to write with, a pencil and a paper, so that you can write down the different exercises. And we're going to try to do this presentation as most interactive as we can. So this is the part of paper, and pencil will be very, very important. And just a little bit of what we're gonna see today. Today we're gonna see user of the person, the empathy map, the audiences get to buy, and how to group audiences, smart objectives, and social network storytelling. And we're gonna go a little bit quick because it's a lot of content in just few time, but you can ask us any question, so you can write directly, and we are totally happy to keep on answering your questions via email. Perfect. So we're going to start with an activity just to break the ice, so that we can start interacting and to see this different exchange space. So our proposal is the next activity, and we can start already with a pencil and paper, or with a Word document, if whatever is more comfortable to you. In a short phrase, what is for you a digital campaign? There are no correct or incorrect answers, but just to start this workshop about campaigns, we would like to get to know your opinion. What do you consider a digital campaign? What not? And you can also write in the chat, actually, mainly, and we'll be reading you. Yes, exactly. You can write to us in the chat, and also Tai is already helping with this. And this is just to understand you, to understand what is for you a digital campaign, and because not always we'll have the same concepts or the same definitions for one word or for one term. So we know that we're located in different parts and different parts of the world. So to us, it's very important, this part. And also, Esme, maybe you can help us. What is a digital campaign for you, or what can a digital campaign as characteristics should have? To me, a digital campaign is something that has an end to end, and that is not only the creativity that we do, but and it is not only the social network, that the social media that we're using, but from the strategy and how we implement it, and the objective that we have for this digital campaign. And for you, Mappy, yes, apart from this, is actually beyond the social networks and everything. I think that you need to have very clear objectives, and also something that we can measure, that we can monitor whether it's functioning or not. Because if not, then how we can see this and how we can modify it. So I think that these are very important characteristics for the digital campaigns. So, well, I think that we can go a little bit more into detail already in the subject. In the first part that we're going to see today, we are going to be able to see the audiences. And in this part, we're gonna see that it is important always to know who we are addressing or who we want to talk with, because if we don't know this, sometimes this may be a little bit complicated because we understand that people maybe understand the same thing that we understand. They know the same things as we do, and actually, it is not like that. So, a tool always I really like a lot in personal basis are the users or the people. In some campaigns they call them buyer persons and so on, and it is just to identify and to place a face, a name, and to make a story for this person. The more detailed, the easier we'll be able to identify certain insights or characteristics that are going to help us actually to help us to start this campaign. And well, many times they ask me, Mappy, but how I'm gonna obtain all this information? We have a lot of information reachable. So, for example, we can Google. There is a lot of generation studies and everything. But what I always recommend is to think and someone that we know already, and all these people that we already know, and to start grouping all these characteristics. There is a little template here, so maybe you can place a name, for example, a picture, sometimes even a characteristical phrase that we are always repeating: the age, where you work at, whether they have family or not have, or he doesn't have family, where which are his or her goals and aspirations, and there were motivations as well, or maybe to think about the daily basis, from the morning until the late night activities, because here we can identify pain points or frustrations that probably is very probable that with what we are doing we'll be able to solve. So the communication channels, the preferred communication channels by which they will prefer to start receiving the information. Or obviously, it is not the same to address a person that maybe that is used to read every day the newspaper, or maybe a youngster that is always in social media. So from that point on, we can start identifying who we are going to talk with and how we can start generating empathy and to be at the same floor of this person in order to start with this campaign, so that this campaign will be a little bit more accurate and effective. I don't know, Esmeralda, if you would like to contribute something else to the on this regard. Something that I really like a lot when we think about this person is that, and we're going to talk about this later, it is the empathy map. But then there is another thing that I also like, and that we feel that sometimes we run away from it, or I personally run away from it, is to check if this person uh, is having a lot of reachable data. We can look for service or organizations that are already carrying out service, that there is people participating in one place or another, so it's even easier to collect data. Because I understand that for us clients, users, or whatever, we can confirm that they exist, that they already have certain behaviors, and that I can confirm this. So I confirm it with real life data, and to me this is very interesting. Yes, actually, some months ago, talking with another person in this part, we are totally deep into the research, and we become a very good observers, and something that will help us to keep on feeling this form. And this is something very ambiguous. This is something that we can update constantly, and it is not static. It's actually the other way around. And well, here we reach what Esme was saying, the empathy map. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this empathy map and why you like it a lot. I really like it because maybe we can do not imagine this. So the empathy map is actually placing us in the place of the others, to because this person that I think that we're gonna use and that says, okay, well, and that is listening every day, that's saying, okay, what do you feel? What do you think? What are your motivations and frustrations? Something that we have talked a lot last year in different workshops is especially in the context, in the people that is reading us also has an emotional charge, that whether they come, whether they are closed or not, Is there are they in a country, in an apartment, in the countryside, on the city? How they are migrating to the social media? So actually, is to go deeper here and to ask ourselves not exactly how the person is, but how they're feeling today, how they're feeling today in this context, in a different country. And I think that it's very rich for just to get a little bit deeper, whether they are in opportunities, in confrontations. So I don't know how, if you are thinking or asking yourselves how the others are feeling. It's just a little bit about this. Yes, exactly. This type of exercise, actually, what is doing is to place ourselves in the place of the others and also to understand the reality of other people. Maybe not as it is, but it will take us closer to this reality. So actually, it will help us a lot at the moment of our communication or at the moment to create experiences or products. And well, just a little bit by understanding exactly how we can address this, we can reach this part of the audiences, of the get to buy audiences. And I don't know here if you would like to explain a little bit more about this type of audiences. Yes, it will be, as we mentioned in the beginning, that I wanted to mention in this training, we are going from the general terms to the specific. So we started with the user or with the person, and we started imagining ourselves what do they feel, how they are creating. So once we have this ready and we have it written down, it's like had get to buy audiences. So to see how we want to reach it, which is the objective audience. So there's a universe of people and specifically who I want to reach there. This is the person that I wanted, and then you. And then, well, two, sorry, not you, two. And then you start making a question, whether with a survey or with a report after a campaign. What do I want them to do? And this is very important because sometimes we have an audience and we launch a campaign and we start telling about our organization and when we can tell our mission. But what do we want from each other? Many times times the campaign can fail because of real clear actionable item, because there should be an action. What do I want them to do? Do I want them just to read it and that's it? Do I want them to go into my website then? And what do I want them to donate? So it's very clear to have this clear about the activity that I want my audience to do. And also to have very clear that we cannot ask them to do a lot of actions. With a digital campaign, we cannot say, okay, I want them to see my publication, then to go to my portal, and then to join the volunteership. So that's a lot of things to be asked in a campaign. So we will need to make it shorter and to say, okay, how I'm gonna reach these two activities because I want them to donate, and how I'm gonna achieve this, how I'm gonna reach them in social media. I'm gonna reach them in a post with an email that I already know that he opened or she opened my newsletter, and they are interested in this. So this is how we're gonna reach. And what do we want them to do? And to be very clear in this part, to the call to action that you shall always have about the details, the campaign in general terms, and then how I'm gonna achieve this, and to have these specific actions. And as they were saying, and I was always saying, once or one step at a time, because I understand that every time that we create a campaign, we always have an urgency. And at the moment, it's as you were saying, I want them to read, I want them to be volunteers, and I want them to donate, and I want everything. No, calm down. We need to calm down and also to be at the place of the others. And let's remember that nowadays in social media, we are exposed to a lot of information in just very few time. So what do I need to do in order this to be relevant and so that in reality we are reaching those objectives? And one of these things is that we always recommend is one call to action at a time, not everything together. So actually, here is the art of being constantly planning our campaigns. by different stages to get to know and how we need to prioritize at the moment, because if not, then it becomes something very complicated and it becomes very confusing. So we need to understand that we need to understand the cause, and that to us this may be very clear what we're doing. Sometimes for the rest of the people it is not this way. So I think here there is a point about the clarity and about how we can achieve these objectives in a very punctual manner with our audiences. And here there is another part that we thought it was very important to add in this presentation. How can I group audiences? When we already have very clear which are our audiences and which is going to be our call to action and how we're going to achieve it, then we have this part of the audiences. And mainly in all social media, in general terms, such as Facebook or Instagram, there is a classification that may be very clear for by tastes and interests. And this is very important because then we can identify not only the people by age, by geography, or by positions, job positions that they occupy in different organizations, but also what they're interested in, which are their taste and what do they like. Also, we group the lookalike experiences, and this means that those are lookalike audiences or similar audiences to the ones that we already have. And at that moment, we can start extending a little bit more our audience and the people that are following us. Also, we can group them by people that are doing a different action in your website or in your page. And also we can group these other people and then to say, okay, which other action or how we can reach this other group and which are our objectives for this other group. And the objectives or the friends of the people that are following in you. So maybe we already know that this is someone that knows my work, and maybe a friend can enter into this group and be a potential part of the audience at this moment by creating or launching your campaign mainly in social media. Mappy, I don't know if you want to say something else. Enough, I would like to add on something. And all this that Mappy has mentioned could be applied in a platform in a different manner. For example, a lookalike audience in Facebook could be similar to the one where we're creating our ad, and I want this to look alike to the people that is following this account, because maybe I can say, okay, I'm interested in the people that are following this organization, the people that are following me, because I mean similar profiles of the people that are already following me. And maybe, okay, if we group audiences that are having an interest for economy, for environmental, as Mappy was saying. And suddenly Facebook has already recognized them between the slides and the things they already know about this, and we can look for them by keywords, organizations, and different topics. However, and differently, if we are in a newsletter and it's our newsletter, many times we can talk about this and we group there by ages, or we can group them by people that have already donated. So we already have the people that donated and the people that haven't donated. And this is very good because when we send newsletters, we always differentiate the donors and no donors, because we don't want a donor that has already invested our money in us to keep on sending or receiving newsletters that are saying, do you want to donate? So this should be appealing to the and attractive to them. For example, there could be people that went to your website but they didn't do anything, or maybe they opened your email, but it seems that it was interesting for them, but they didn't read the content. So this is how we can analyze which is the information that we have. So we already said Facebook has a big database that we don't know, but if we ask it, they are gonna give it to us. And also we have our own database in order to see which would be the easiest way to identify them. But also we have this strategy as we don't have information, so we get to know this in two different manners. And well, maybe we can check with all the people that were here, and then we start talking about same topic, and but in more into detail, and to this other audience a different topic. So how it's convenient to us to start doing the segmentation. Yes, exactly, Esme. Thank you very much. And for example, to us, something how we segment our audiences a lot to us is very valuable. The country where they are located, because we don't have the same campaigns for organizations that are in Mexico or organizations that are in Guatemala. So as you were saying, actually we just need to check how is this information and how valid is this for you, and then over it to keep on working group and segment. And this is a work, sometimes it's a sin, I cannot say no, because actually we need to be cleaning this database. And maybe it is very worthy, I want to say, because then you can create these campaigns in a very specific manner to personalize their name, especially and their taste and everything. So it's quicker that people is doing click and feel identify, and also that they are following you, because it has also happened that we can send emails and so, and people subscribe. So what we are doing and what we are not doing in order to avoid this and not to keep on having the same results. So then let's go to the objective part. And I don't know here if in this point you can ask these questions via the chat. We'll be reading them, but if there is no questions, we can continue with the objectives. Objectives, smart or smart objectives. And if there is no questions, maybe if there is no questions, I would love to say at least they know your name, where you're coming from, because we don't see camera. We're very alone here. So if there's anyone in the chat and would like to share as we are sharing this information, it would be very, very nice if we go to see who they are, who you are, where do you come from, if if this information is interesting to you, if you are interested in another topic, it'll be great to share while we start talking about smart objectives. Mappy, do you want to start or I start? Go ahead. Well, so we have right now everything that we were saying about audiences, how we segment them, and as Mappy was mentioning, that we need to be very assertive in terms of what we need to do, and not only to say to have the possibility to differentiate them in different segments, but why we wanted to differentiate them in these different segments and how we can test them, or and well, once we have this defined, an audience, a get to buy, what do I want them to do? We need to pay attention that all this could be adequate for the smart objectives. And to me, this is the key of everything. But since I'm studying in the university, this is something that in certain manners, certain words already had a click on me. So what do it mean smart? Every campaign that we should have an objective, yes or yes, because we need, if we don't have an objective, we don't have the chance to get to know whether it was successful or not. Sometimes we may ask, okay, how we're going to measure this? We need to think about ideas to assess them and then to check the results, and we can start checking different type of metrics. But there is always good idea to have an objective in order to measure, because if we don't measure, we do not improve, and these objectives may have certain characteristics. They should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and in a period of time. So, for example, we can say, I want to do a digital campaign in order to have more donors and to increase the fundraising amount. This is not an objective. The objective should be specific. It should be, at least with this campaign, I would like to have new 10 donors. Can I measure it? Yes, because of the quantity of people that are new and donate. So here I already have a metric, and I can see over how many people decided to donate. That is attainable. So if I have a base of 7 donors and I want to increase it, I can have it. But if I want to do a digital campaign and to achieve 1,000 new donors, so between 7 and 1,000, we have a big gap. So it is a good objective, but it is not attainable, maybe. It is good to have a challenging objective, but also to have a realistic objective, to say, okay, let's start duplicating this number, 7 more, and to then see how it works. If we are lower, if we went very high, what will happen in the different campaign, and then in a period of time. Because if you say, okay, I want to get new 7 donors with this Facebook campaign, and that's it, you do not ask yourself in which time, in a week, in a month, for the whole year, maybe in 5 days, and this is not realistic anymore. It goes hand in hand. And if I say a year, maybe is a long time for a digital campaign. So we want them to have in 3 months for so many donors, and then we'll go through the quantity of people that came here to donate from Facebook, because we're doing the campaign from different places in order to know that this campaign was actually effective, and then we can see how it's working. So all the digital campaigns may have smart objectives. Mappy. And well, this is not applicable only for digital campaigns. Actually, it could be applicable for everything in life. The fact that we can start creating smart objectives, it's going to help us a lot, because as you were saying, Esme, what is not measurable cannot be improved in all the different aspects. So every time we have an objective, a campaign, a digital campaign, maybe we can think about this, and that it is actual tangible, how we're going to visualize this, how we are going to measure it, and in how much time. Even though my campaign is going to last for 2 months, remember that we're going to do like check and like different points in order to get to know how we're doing, whether in the middle of it, at the beginning. This is also important in order to get to know at which moment we need to.
We need to remember that nowadays social media is going so fast and there are a lot of changes, updates as well that we have in social media. So just as social media keeps updating every single day, we have to do the same. We have to look at what we're doing and how we're doing so that at the end we can have better results instead of just waiting until the end of it and then assess. It's better to do a daily assessment and yeah, be able to measure it is very important in order to get successful results. Yes, I want to say something else. I want to add something. Something that we normally do is sometimes you ask yourself, who is your audience? And then you say, I want to reach everyone. This is for everyone, for the whole family. But it's not true because in the family we have a child, we have a teenager, we have a mom. So you don't talk to them in the same way. So you need to think about your campaigns, considering all those aspects. Who are you talking to? Also, you need to take into account your economic resources, your time, etc. But yeah, part of the objective of these campaigns is to customize your audiences, to be able to understand who you are talking to in order to improve our message. How am I going to address certain sector? I think that's also pretty valuable to remember, because if we want to address every single person or every single personality, it will be a mess. Yeah, I agree with you. Something that happens to us when talking about organizations, we are actually pretty passionate about what we do. So same thing, we believe that because we're passionate about it, everyone else will also feel passion for it, but that's not the case. So I agree with you in the segmentation part that you were explaining. We need to be very clear when directing to or addressing certain population, because you're not going to use the same words that you would use for a kid or to talk to a grandma or a teenager that uses TikTok that doesn't even use Facebook, but maybe the mom uses Facebook, the grandma doesn't. So that's why, yes, it is important to invest a little bit more time, more effort in getting to know our audience. Our audience is very important. Maybe if it's not a digital campaign, doesn't matter. You still need to understand your audience. Okay, so this is half of our presentation, and now we can proceed to do this exercise. This takes 10 minutes. People, audience, if you are out there, please let us know. We are going to present one example of audience that is pretty specific, and I want you to answer the questions get to buy, which is basically sharing types of interests that we can see, for instance, in Facebook. And we also want to set a SMART objective. Also, let us know if you're following us, if you have any kind of question or anything else. We know that in theory this is easy and it's clear in my head, but when you put it into practice, it's kind of hard, especially when you talk about smart objectives. That's not so easy. Like, what do I need to do here? How do I need to do this? So if you have any questions, if you want to join us in this exercise, it will be great. Let us know how. Well, let us know your process, the get to buy questions. What answers can you give to this kind of questions? Your audience. Yeah, as Mappy said, please, if you are listening, let us know. Let us know in the chat, and then we can begin working on this task. So far so good, I think. Let us know. Maybe give us a thumbs up or something. Taide is letting us know that this is half. We are already halfway to finish our presentation. So, people that are listening in Spanish, people who are listening in English, let us know if you're there. And so, let us know about, think about one example of a very difficult audience that you had when creating a digital campaign. Esme, maybe. This is such a difficult question, maybe. Let me think. I remember that once I was a volunteer at this NGO. It was very interesting, and we had photograph workshops for people with some sort of disability. And these people learned how to take pictures, and they took excellent pictures. The campaign was also for their family. Like, how do you talk to the people, because they use different words to refer to the disabled people. So, how do we reach the family? How do we talk to these people? How do we pick the message? How do we set the objectives? And especially, how do we select the platforms that we're going to use? So it was amazing. It turned out amazing. The work that the guys did, the photographs, the volunteers, it was amazing. But yes, it was hard to organize everyone. We were thinking, okay, how do we raise funds? Do we do like different themes? Do people live near here, or are people far away from this place? So there were many elements that we needed to consider. Thank you, Esme. Yeah, me too. I've also found these challenges, especially in terms of technology. Sometimes the organizations don't know that people who donate the most are people who are actually 50 or 60 or even 70 years old. And these are people who are not so fond of technology. So how do we reach those people? Because normally people think, okay, I'm going to start a campaign on Facebook, but these people are not on Facebook. So if you want to reach those sectors of the population, how are you going to reach them? Because they're not on Facebook. How are you going to start talking about technology and a platform where these people can actually do a transaction or something is hard. But we have found resources, maybe not technological resources, but other resources that are valid as well, analog resources that helped us in this, supported our digital campaigns. Okay, there aren't any, if there aren't questions, we can continue. We can move on to the second part of the presentation. Again, if there are any questions, please let us know in the chat. We want to hear if you're understanding us, if you're following what we're saying. Anything that you want to share is more than valid. Okay, yeah, also, if anyone did the exercise, please share that with us. The objective is, of course, not to evaluate or anything, but just to reflect and put into practice other things. Again, when we discuss theory, maybe things are clear, but when you try to put that into practice, then the challenge begins. So I think it's best if we share here and we take advantage of this space. And there we have a null. How do we how do we look? We try to make this space a very friendly space for you. So maybe to make you laugh a little. Okay, now moving on to social media. Esme, why should we use social media? Well, social media or social network is a great source of information. This is a report we did last year, Global Trends in Given Report. You can actually access that. This was from the NGO 2020. And some of the information that we got is that 40% of people are inspired to donor because of newsletter and 40% because of social network. So as you can see, the impact is actually very, very important. 43% of people believe that the most relevant network is Instagram. There's a lot of impact there. So we try to have information broken down depending on the country of origin. And we try to address certain topics like why do people mistrust social networks and those kind of questions. In this reporting, you can find all of that information. Why use social media? But yeah, definitely nowadays, social media is such a relevant tool. Why to use them? Well, because you're able to interact with donors and with prospects. It's not necessary to launch a campaign all the time, but you can keep in touch with your donors, with your audience. You expand your reach, and we let people know that we're doing relevant things, and or maybe we can uh, we can show people what we're doing, and they can start following that because it's of their interest. Maybe we have some specialists, maybe not, but we can become also reference. We have a lot of opportunity to, as I said, expand the reach to new audiences, like through Facebook ads. We can also have demographics and the behavior of people who follow us. For instance, if they are women mostly, or if they are if 50-50, women, men, where they come from, the location. The more you use your social networks, the more information you'll get. The people can visualize the alliances that we have with other organizations, and that is very relevant for us. We tag other organizations, or we share some posts about other organizations, and for us it's very important that people know that we are collaborating with these other organizations. Also the kind of campaigns or actions that we're implementing. And finally, we also share relevant content without any cost or free of charge. We can share quality information, so definitely social media is a very relevant tool. Mappy? Yes, totally. Nowadays, Facebook, Instagram, in the past, Twitter had a lot of information to offer. Then there was a reduction in the capabilities, but really there is a lot of information that is available to us in social networks in terms of insights, in terms of user profiles. If you actually get into your social media and look at this information, and then you start thinking how you can apply what you learned from that information, then that is going to give you maybe the answer for your campaigns or for your dissemination of information. Sometimes we don't even think about it, but yeah, if you start paying attention, you will see the information there. Also, as you mentioned, it's very important to show the collaboration that we have with these other organizations, or the collaboration that is important for us to post. Also, when we talk about the marketing of content, I think that the more relevant you can become for your audience, the more successful you'll be. Yesterday they were like, how do I hack Facebook? And I was like, I would love to have maybe a secret recipe to hack and everyone's minds and be able to reach them. But no, that's not possible. What's possible is to look at your audience and learn from it, to get to know your audience so you know how to talk to them. Social media detects when your, or identifies when your information is relevant for your audience and pushes it to your audience. And the most important thing is that you can reach so many people from so many different countries, not only people in Mexico, but people from other countries. And this is just an overall view of social networks. These are the most popular ones, where most people that you can find in Facebook are Generation X, millennials. You can find a lot of variety in terms of content. Twitter is a very fast network. Basically, the latest trends, the latest news, what's happening, general news, maybe political views, profiles, all of that. And there are a lot of hashtags in order to create and follow trends. So yeah, it's a very fast network. Like, what is happening? What are you doing? Then we have Instagram. It's a network that has a lot of impact. This is one of the most visual networks that we have nowadays. And I like it because you have stories, you have photos, and the stories precisely is that whenever you want to tell someone's story, you want to share your success cases, all of those things. You can have that in the stories that only stay there for 24 hours. You can use other features like surveys, polls, voting, music. LinkedIn is a work network. This is mostly for baby boomers, X generation millennials. You can look at people who are your colleagues or people who belong into certain institutions. And I don't have that one here, but there's also TikTok. TikTok is another visual network. And this one actually had a boom during the pandemic. So we have a wide range of options. This doesn't mean that you need to be present in every single network, but this means that you have possibilities, you have different opportunities to reach your audiences. Maybe if you are in every single social network, that means that you need to generate content for each network and for each audience, but that is kind of exhausting. So I recommend that you focus on the audience that you want to reach, and then you start growing that amount of followers or that community, and you can start building your content and your community. And then you can start maybe migrating after that, migrating to another network. But for me, quality of content is very, very important. Not just post anything, just to post something, but to be relevant with the content that you are sharing or posting. Yeah, yeah, there is something. You need to pick in a strategic way your platform, and you need to respect the code of each platform. As you mentioned, it's very hard to be present in every single platform. Maybe, okay, Instagram. Everyone has Instagram. Okay, but who follows me? Maybe my audience is not on Instagram. Even if I want to use that platform, my audience are on Facebook or somewhere else. So you need to identify where your audience is. Let's talk about Twitter. Maybe I want to use Twitter, but people are not on Twitter. Maybe Twitter is complicated to use for some people. So you always need to focus on the platforms that are, or networks that are strategic for you. And you need to respect codes. Each network has a code. For instance, LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, I could post something, for instance, I could ask people like, if you're interested in this, give it a thumbs up, or like put that emoji. And if you just, I don't know, if you like it, react with a different emoji. So I need to know where I'm allowed to do certain things because, for instance, this is not possible on Instagram. On Instagram, you cannot react. You can only like a post, but you cannot react. So that is just one example. Also, I need to see that my audience understand my post, that they are going to react to it, that it's going to make them engage in conversation, and that from the very first phrase, it's understandable what I'm saying. That is clear. Maybe I can use vignettes instead of a big paragraph. Maybe I can use emojis. I can separate the text. I don't know, something like that. You can also use short URLs. There are some websites where you can actually edit that so that your URL is short and is easier for people, like bit.ly. This is one that you can use for that purpose. And finally, questions and numbers have more probabilities to generate clicks. Probably if I write something about three ways of fundraising, then it sounds more relevant, it sounds more straightforward. Mappy? Yeah, I was just thinking about that, about numbers. It's true. When you make lists with numbers, that works a lot. For instance, we had in the platform 6 steps to achieve a successful digital campaign. And for some reason, if you make a list and people can visualize the numbers, it's easy for them to follow it. And also, I was thinking about the emojis. I know that you don't always have the same kind of communication, so it might not be suitable for some people. But again, you need to learn about your audience. Also, you need to think about your profile photo and the banners that are behind it. All of those elements that you can edit or that you can change according to the situation. The profile of the organization. It's always important to have all of your information clear so that people understand who you are, where you're based, collaborations or alliances to reach new audiences. That's also very important because maybe you're talking about the same topics as the other organization is. So why not do a collaboration or an alliance with this organization? What else? Generate one call to action. Not multiple calls to action, just one. And also, there are social media that allows us to create videos, GIFs, so many things, so many elements that we need to explore and exploit. Also, the polls, the surveys, that is very helpful, but you just need to have clarity in terms of what you will be asking or the objective of it. Organize your hashtags for the campaign, add them at the end in order to avoid saturation. These are helpful because people can understand what we're doing. Invite people to follow us or to use the hashtag so they can identify the campaign. And as we were saying before, do not open a digital channel if you don't have the time or resources to keep it. This is so true. You need to be aware of your own resources, your own time, and based on metrics, you need to see what's working better and replicate that. Then we are almost about to finish. I want to talk about storytelling. Esme. Yeah, well, this is related to what we were mentioning at the beginning when we started talking about social network, and we talked about the marketing of content. And basically this refers to the potential, the knowledge about our sector, and all the stories that we have to tell. So basically, all of those things, use them in your favor. Engage other people with your cause, with your story. Have people understand why you do certain things, what's your goal. So either social media or traditional marketing campaigns, digital campaigns. You always need to create storytelling because storytelling creates empathy. If you have maybe a story pinned on Instagram that explains about Wingu or your organization, or maybe testimonies, or maybe when people access our web is like a roadmap that people can follow and learn about us. But the goal here is, yes, to tell our story, to talk about our experiences. In Wingu, during this year, we developed a civic app, and it's good. It talks about the development of technology. We wanted to share that with other people, and it has a lot to do with our mission. So, in every campaign, we have stories. And what's important as well is to make sure that the people who are going to listen to your story has common goals or common core values so that the story actually resonates with them. And then these people can understand the whole path, because you always have people engaging with you, and you have more followers, so you need to create this empathy with new followers and with the existing followers. We need to share about us. You need to share about your sometimes we are so busy that we forget that there are people who are new maybe and don't know the context, so you need to maybe share in little episodes or chapters your story. Yeah. And in Crowdson, for instance, we have the campaigns, and something that we always recommend is
In this
that
part
the storytelling.
of the storytelling, exactly, you need to tell the stories and to say where we're taking all these stories from. And actually, we just need to look around and to see the different comments, to tell the stories of our colleagues, to tell the stories of what we are going through, to generate this empathy, and especially in this case of the campaigns, and about the donors, because they can be part of the solution. We don't shall not say, okay, just give me and that's it. No, they are being part of the solution as well. So we're having problems. We also, as organizations, we're here helping to solve solutions that may be also important to let them know and to let them feel to the rest of the people. So I think that this is fundamental, and that's why storytelling is helping us a lot to make feel the rest of the people these emotions. It's a big challenge. Yes, I am not gonna say no, because right now there's a lot of contents and the social media is saturated from content. So actually, if we make a big effort and we find the formula, the exact formula, we're gonna be able to have very good and beautiful results that are gonna amaze all of us. So I think that we're already in the final track. We're already on time, and but here, I wanted to ask you once again if there is any questions, if you have any comments. I think that we can have just few minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes before closing the session. These are the 2 minutes for questions, queries regarding what we saw before and right now regarding to share a story, your own storytelling. It is open, the microphone, to say hello, or maybe just to say hello at least. Yes. And well, if not, it was a big pleasure to us being here and sharing this information. I hope that it was useful, for you, and that you can replicate it in your organizations. And maybe if this is not a moment to participate, you can contact us with any without problem. And here we can solve you any doubt that you may have. Exactly. So once again, thank you very much. These are our social networks, the HIP networks in general, the HIP media. And also you can contact us via email in a personal manner. And also we can keep on talking about this further on and to solve any questions that you may have. So here, once again, this is the slide where you can take our contact details if you need something else. And thank you very much for being here with us today. And we'll be in touch. I think Tyler is already sharing the presentation in the chat if you want to have it. And anything that you need, we're here to serve you. Thank you very much, Esme. Thank you, Mappy. It was very nice to share this with you. And thank you for the ones that listen to us. Thank you very much. Exactly.